Hey Helldivers, welcome back to the channel. If you're wondering whether the new Master Ceremony Warbond is worth your hard-earned credits, you've come to the right place. Today we're breaking down everything you need to know about this brand new Warbond and whether it's something you should pick up or skip. This Warbond has been a controversial one to most players compared to others, so I'll make sure to give you an honest review. Let's take a look at what we have for show. The Master Ceremony Warbond is a more simplified Warbond that focuses more on the celebration and outstanding services to Super Earth. Instead of it getting a hardened or grizzled Warbond like we are familiar with, we're getting the opposite, with clean uniforms, simple to use weaponry, and a stratagem that more designed for cosplay than anything. You will get the standard 3 pages of items, which include 3 super credits, new armor plus passives, 1 stratagem, emote, cape, etc. So generally what you're already familiar with. Oddly enough, there isn't a new camo for us to use this time round, even though the devs have made it quite clear they will be adding it going forward. So maybe next Warbond, they'll probably add one for this one here. Now I'll go over the most noticeable items in the Warbond to keep an eye on. The RE, Honorary Guard and Parade Commander sets. You will get 1 medium and 1 light armor set for the pack. These armor sets come with a new armor perk called Reinforced Epaulets, which increases reload speed of primary weapons by 30%, gives the wearers a 50% chance to avoid grievous limb injury, and increases melee damage by 50%. This passive, when it was first released, was quite terrible, as originally you only got 1 perk, which was you get a 50% chance to avoid grievous limb injury, which we already have an armor set that provides that bonus, but better. But after a few complaints from the community, the devs went ahead and buffed the new additions as mentioned, and now is rightfully one of the many best armor sets to wear in game. Not only are you going to generally look good and clean in your uniform, but your armor passives are going to allow you to use multiple variations of weapons with little to no effort. For example, pairing this up with the new RT Amendment Rifle is where the uniform will shine, as you can proc off the increased melee damage and increased reload speed for a weapon which is heavily designed around this aspect. But at the same time, you can always use your favourite primary for the fast reload speed, and then use a melee secondary like the Stun Baton for the melee damage bonus. But overall, the armor set is pretty amazing, and it only costs you 45 and 55 medals separately. The R2 Amendment Rifle is the upgraded version of the Constitution Rifle, with a high rate of fire and damage, with a simple trade-off of ergonomic speed and light penetration rounds. It packs a 200 damage with light armor penetration, 20 round capacity within 8 magazines separately, and can be increased with the Siege Ready armor passive if you wish. This weapon's performance is more measured in its damage and fire rate rather than its accuracy, as its accuracy over 15 meters tends to be quite poor unless you single fire it. Up close against enemies with little armor, it slays them pretty efficiently, while medium armor units, it can struggle against them because of the armor penetration type, but it can still take them down with a well placed precision shot. It's a good weapon that I like to use in medium ranges, and its added on bayonet does allow you to add on another level of damage to the weapon when needed the most. My only gripe with the weapon, and most of the community can agree on, is its ergonomic, which is poor compared to other marksman rifle, its penetration type being light instead of it being a medium, and its lack of customization, which kills any way to improve the weapon's key weaknesses. If we could have more customization options available to add to the weapon, then I think it would be considered a top tier and usable weapon for a number of combats. But that lack of customization and penetration type does put players off from using it, and considering there are better weapons type to use instead of it, why would you want to use it, unless you just want to use it for fun? This costs 35 medals. Now your Saber is a standard melee weapon introduced within the Warbond. Just like most melee weapons, the Saber excels well in close range combat with a 110 melee damage and medium armor penetration. Because of how fast it can be swung, it is excellent against the Voteless, as it can take on multiple enemies at once, but also being able to dismember them within 1 to 2 hits. With the newly buffed armor sets, this will now receive a further big buff towards its damage and actually make using any sort of melee weapons in general viable for as long as the armor set is being used. I do like using the Saber more than the Baton and Stun Baton, and you might as well. This only costs you 40 medals. Now, the One True Flag stratagem is a bit of a controversial one, as it's something that the community have mentioned wanting, but not in the way it's been delivered. Now, this stratagem is a melee focused weapon with extended range to it, allowing you to sweep up and attack multiple targets at once. It has 110 melee damage, medium penetration, and can be used with one hand. While it may look strong on paper, that's generally all the weapon can do, and it does not provide any sort of buff towards the user or group of players. It's basically a gimmick tool to use when you want to feel patriotic or show off how loyal you are to Super Earth. And while this can be used to take out harvesters and does have good stunning capabilities against most enemies, it doesn't really feel that awe-inspiring to overall use. Now personally, it would have been nice if they added a buff towards the stratagem to where users and players gain increased weapon reload speed, movement speed while near the flag, and having a 50-50 chance of not taking lethal hits. Something like that would make the stratagem viable in many people's eyes and would be very handy for escort missions or defensive based missions. Unfortunately, this is what we have to deal with for the time being, and this will cost you a eye-watering 110 medals. The sample scanner is a new addition to the boosters that gives you a 15% chance to receive twice the samples on sample pickups. While this might not be useful for most players who are already maxed out, this will become very helpful when new ship upgrades does get added in again. A 15% is quite low and does feel kind of wasteful at times, but having this with the sample extractor as well can be a good combo for quickly farming as much samples as possible when needed. This will cost you 65 medals. If you're familiar with the incendiary grenade, then the Pyrotech grenade is a similar variation of the following. It will light enemies on fire for 55 DPS, has a 30 demolition force applied to it, and also has medium penetration wider usage. While it looks like a simple and low tier version of the thermite grenade, it turns out the spinny sparkle that the Pyrotech does before it does explode actually has an AP5, aka heavy armor penetration, and it does 20 damage times 9 per second. That is 180 heavy armor penetration per second, and the grenade does the spin for roughly 3 seconds. In total, the entire encounter will net you an approximately 540 heavy armor penetration damage, a quarter of thermite charge. And, of course, it ends with the fiery explosion that does 50 damage as well, the exact same stat as what it suggests. What makes this so good is that you can carry a total of 6 of these by default. And one ammo resupply will grant you 2 of these. With the engineer armor set, it would then grant you an extra couple of these as well. The downside of this grenade is that unlike a thermite, it doesn't stick onto stuff, so the enemies have to stay within the spin for this to work at its maximum potential. Now its upside is as expected. Since it doesn't stick to any specific targets, and due to the large radius of the sparkle and spin, it can potentially wipe out a clump of heavy enemies standing close to each other and completely decimate any smaller enemies caught within the spin. Also remember that you have 6 of these by default compared to Thermite's 3. Arguably, this is one of the best grenades to bring with you if you need something that covers multiple angles all at once, and this will cost you 65 medals. So to conclude everything we have gone over, I don't really recommend the Warbond unless you're someone that is after the armor and weapons. Now, compared to the other Warbonds, this one feels like it's missing so much for the overall theme and setup it provides. While the armor set, grenades and primary marksman rifle does feel nice to use, the booster, stratagem and primary weapon with its lack of customization does bring a great disadvantage to actually wanting to use it. Compared to Borderline or Justice, which gave you a fantastic secondary weapon to use, a stratagem that actually has value to it, and this booster which can amplify how fast we get samples, it feels like Master Ceremony was just off by a good few things. If the devs can find a way to buff the stratagem, give our primary a wider customization option, and perhaps change how the booster works with maybe an additional feature to make it enticing, I would then say the Warbond is 100% worth it. But for now, I would leave this as your last option to pick if there is a better option available for you. So there we have it. I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you have any thoughts on the content shared or generally like what was shown, then please leave a comment, a like, and subscribe for more future stuff. It was great seeing you again, Helldivers, and I hope to see you again soon.